All right, so welcome, guys. This is the second day of the Alternate Future Summit. Today is another day of showcases. We'll have, the topic is around people development, and we have 3 people here today with us to give a showcase on their projects. So we have Jamie from Peopletree, we have Raquel from Get Worded that is going to showcase Alex, a product from Get Worded, and we have Lee from Certtin that is also going to give a showcase of the project. So we are starting with Jamie. Then we'll play a game between the 3 of you. Okay, the 3 of you will play a game. I will explain how the game works. Then we move to Lee and 13, and we finish the day with Raquel and Alex. So Jamie, you are a presenter. You can share your screen, and you can start when you are prepared.
All right. All right. So just to reintroduce myself, my name is Jamie. I am a product manager at Peopletree Group, a multinational company that specializes in enterprise talent management solutions. Just before I kick this off, just want to give Get Boarded a very big thank you for such a wonderfully hosted conference. Look forward to all the games that are ahead and the rest of the talks throughout the week. So what I'll be covering today is Peopletree's latest innovation, which is DataWiz. And that is essentially empowering HR with business intelligence that we normally find in the finance, marketing, and sales functions. How do we want to do this? Well, we want to enable HR business partners and HR practitioners with the tools and the knowledge to have intelligent, data-driven conversations. Now, I'm going to kick that off by answering what you guys see on the screen there, and then answering what can Napoleon's Russian campaign teach HR about data storytelling. Now, to give you a brief history recap, Napoleon, conqueror of all Europe, conquered all besides one, Russia. He was quite upset about this, and he decided to go invade Russia. And how he wanted to do that is take a massive army of 500,000 soldiers and begin to start a campaign and drive the invasion through into Russia. Long story short, Napoleon got back. The goal of that as well was to get the surrender of ALEX of Russia. Long story short, Napoleon arrived back with no surrender from Alexander of Russia, and he also got back with a mere 10,000 soldiers. Now, let's see what that has to do with data storytelling. Now, this is what we're looking at. What we're looking at is kind of the cold hard facts of the campaign. And I imagine Napoleon's HR person coming in on Monday morning with something similar to this and saying, "Sir, we were highly unsuccessful." Although this is factual, this doesn't really tell us a story, nor does it give us insight into what went wrong or insights into the solutions for any further campaigns. Now, data storytelling is about engaging the audience emotionally, providing depth and understanding to a topic, and backing up your understanding with data to drive better decision-making and better actions on what to do next. Now, let's take a slightly different approach to how we will visualize this. And my thinking of the solution would be Napoleon's HR person would just be get a bigger army. Now, I was watching a data visualization conference the other day, and they pulled up this visualization, and immediately this brought the data to life. If we see and we think about the campaign that I just went through, that I briefly went through, we can see this visualized and brought to life with this specific visualization. On the left, we can see the line very thick as 500,000 men started the invasion all the way through to Russia. We can see as the army deteriorated all the way through to the right-hand side of the screen. What we can also see is the subsequent U-turn that they made, and they drove all the way back to France with the remainder of 10,000 soldiers. Now, what I'm trying to get at is to build a better narrative around the data set. We need to visualize it so that we can begin to convey the meaning of the data in a powerful and compelling way. We want to see the challenges, the insights, and the solutions to real life situations that we have descriptive data around. Now, the story of this type of, if we had to deep dive into this type of visualization, we could see the army started and got smaller. This was because, well, one of the reasons was because there were poor distribution channels. So there was no way to feed or get water to an army of this size. As you see, they go all the way up to the right, and when they make the U-turn, you can also see, even though they weren't fighting, the line is still getting smaller and the army was still deteriorating. Now, the reason for that is because they decided to, first of all, not set up distribution channels, and second of all, they decided to march through the peak of winter, getting temperatures low as minus 30 degrees. So how I can imagine you would tell the story with a visualization like this is first diagnose what the problems were. Again, distribution channels. The Russians were burning all the resources, so they couldn't live off the land, and they marched through winter. If we had to, for example, or hypothetically speak, visualize this in a real time, and because it's visualized over time, we could also predict the rate of deterioration of the army to figure out how far they could possibly go before they completely depleted all of their soldiers. We'd also want to recommend some solutions. Set up some better distribution channels and do not march through winter. Rather march through summer to give your soldiers a chance. Now, bringing that data to life, we can create a more effective narrative. We want to visualize the data so that we're able to better diagnose what were the problems, want to predict what the future possible outcomes would possibly be, but we also want to prescribe what the best possible actions are to take. Now, what does this do with HR? And how important is people data in HR? Well, people data can help us identify the root of problems, the likelihood of future outcomes, and give us insights into the best possible actions to take. Now, this type of information is valuable, but if we can get this in real time, it is extremely powerful to make better, more insightful, data-driven decisions. To bring this back to an HR perspective, we want to highlight the importance of real-time insights and decision-making. So again, what does this have to do with HR? Now, DataWiz enables those who have the biggest impact on talent and business outcomes, your HR business partners. We want to effectively leverage the people data that they have to create narratives and high-quality data-driven conversations that lead to a strategic impact. We also want to do this by plugging in an analytics machine into your existing HR system to turn your descriptive analytics into diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Now, your HR system is not an analytics machine. HR systems are built to store data, not derive insights or intelligence. The fact that strategic work still happens in stale, out-of-date spreadsheets is the detriment to HR's credibility as a strategic function. This is completely not analytics. PowerPoint and Excel are not analytics. I know this because hours are spent pulling data out of your HRIS and other systems and to just build graphs or charts to make critical decisions in a very delayed and responsive way, as opposed to real-time and proactive way. So what I'm trying to get at is value is only created when you extract the data, analyze it, and then connect it to HR processes, people, and business challenges. Now, this is the DataWiz solution. We take data that you already have. We turn that into information by adding meaning to certain data points. We turn that information into knowledge by visualizing it with powerful and interactive data visualization software. When we do that, you gain insight, which creates wisdom. And with that wisdom, analytics without action has no impact. We want you to be able to act on the insights that you have gained and that you haven't been able to gain before. Now, how do we do this? Very simply put, we do this by answering just two questions. The first is, so what does this data mean? And the second, now what do you want me to do about it? Here's an example of simple data in your HRIS system. And just to give a quick question, can anyone give me insight into the challenges that this company is about to face? Or better yet, some solutions and an effective narrative to convince the line manager or head of department to react. Now, those are quite rhetorical questions, but you may be able to do it in a couple of hours or days. But I'm going to show you how you can create insight and an effective narrative before the end of this presentation. So now we'll do that by just looking at two simple data points that I've highlighted on the screen. That is the start date of the employee, and that is the date of birth of the employee. So now how we turn that information or data to information is by assigning meaning to the data points. If we look at the start date of the employee, now that's indicative of the level or amount of institutional knowledge that person has about that business. Now, that's a great value to the business because they know a lot about your people, about your processes, about your legacy systems, and they have a lot of valuable knowledge about your business. So simply visualizing it, as you can see there, we've just binned it into 0 to 2, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, and so on, which gives us a different perspective of the data we're visualizing. Again, so what does this data mean? Now, if we visualize it on the right-hand side, we can also start to identify the rate of growth or decline and the history of hiring. Again, this is just one simple data point that we've now created so much intelligence around by visualizing it in this specific way. Last thing we want to do is add age, the second data point that I mentioned. Now, age is an indicator of where a person is in a career stage. And all people in HR know that there are different challenges associated to specific individuals based on the career stage that they're in. Now, you can only begin to tell a story with the data when you connect this matrix back to HR processes. So let's do exactly that. If you notice on the bottom, those are the employees, those are gray dots that have just been brought on in the last 2 years. If you look in the middle section, the purple dots, those are the people that are just past their honeymoon phase and are in their mid-career stage. If you look to the top right, those red dots are people that are going to retire soon. And on the bottom right, those are people we brought in late in their career. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, the gray dots are people that we've just brought on. Those people need to rapidly build institutional knowledge. And we need to make sure that we're connecting them with the people so that they can effectively do the job that they're assigned to. So essentially what we want to assess here is the effectiveness of the onboarding, recruitment, and talent acquisition, and the rate of growth by just looking at these dots. If you look to the red, these are the people that have high institutional knowledge, but they're about to leave the company. So what are we doing to transfer that institutional knowledge back into the business? Are we doing succession management? Are we doing replacement planning? Are we setting up some type of mentorship program so that the institutional knowledge of the people that are about to leave the company is transferred back into the business? And the last little point is that little yellow dot or gold dot in the bottom right. And this is indicative of bringing people or someone in late in their career. Now, this is probably indicative of poor internal mobility and not building those skills internally, so that the companies now have to go on outside and effectively go buy those scarce skills in the market. So again, this is indicative of a poor succession or replacement planning, and the action would also be to transfer those scarce skills back into the business to avoid a company going out and trying to look for those scarce skills again. So what we've done there by visualizing it this way, we've looked at the effectiveness of onboarding, seen the contingency planning, the effectiveness of our contingency planning on our retirement risks. And the last thing I didn't actually mention there are the purple dots. And these are people in their mid-career stage that are looking for opportunity. So if you're not providing certain career development opportunities or opportunities in the business, they may become a retention risk. Now, again, analytics without impact has zero action. That's why we've built intelligence into DataWiz so that you can not only gain insight into the data, but also gain some insight into the possible remedies and actions that you should take. Eventually, we put this all together in industry-leading analytics software, and we add organizational data to look at this at a level of functional units, to also look at this at a level of job level or job complexity, and to also look at this at a manager level. Now, if we can do this with just 2 data points, imagine what we can do with the rest of your data. Now, just some examples. We use existing data to have intelligent conversations similar to this, but also related to diversity and inclusion initiatives, to high potential identification and management, to talent segmentation, talent reviews, and quite a few more modules that I'd love to go through, but the time is just not all there today. So what I quickly want to show you just before I end my presentation is what the application looks like from the inside. So yeah, I quickly want to dive into just one functional unit, business risk management. Now that you guys understand the theory and the concept behind visualizing this data, let's take a little bit of a deep dive into what possible actions we can take here. Now, just noticing, first of all, 8 to 9 years seems to be a bit of a dip. Now, I don't think that would be indicative of the rate of growth. I think that would be indicative of people leaving after the honeymoon stage. So possibly having an issue of retention planning around the 8 to 9 year mark. But what we also want to do is have effective conversations with line managers that spur action and that create a strategic impact. Here's Carl. So first of all, the gray dots, I think that would be Roland. We want to make sure that that person is effectively onboarded. Have a conversation with Carl about whether he's connected him with the people he needs to be connected with, and make sure that he's effectively building his institutional knowledge and network. We can also see we have Miley, who's around the 6 to 7 year mark. Now, again, what we just saw is 8 to 9 year mark, people tend to drop off. So again, what are we doing there from a career management point of view to keep Miley on? What we also have here is Frederick, who is a high retirement risk for us. Again, we need to make sure that institutional knowledge is transferred back into the business. Now, an example of an effective strategy, again, I'm not an HR person, but what I would possibly do is make a mentorship program with Frederick and Miley so that he could transfer that institutional knowledge back into the business, and so that he doesn't become a retirement risk, and so that he could pass on his relationship knowledge and legacy system knowledge there as well. So that is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the quick, brief summary of DataWiz and the power of visualization and data storytelling.
Thank you, Jamie. This is really interesting. Let me just open my camera again. And actually, the game that we are going to play now is around storytelling. So it's really cool that your whole presentation was about how you can use data to tell a story. Because now, and Lee, I will invite you to join now with us. The game we are playing, and I will share my screen and explain you, is how to create a pitch based on some images. So instead of being based on data, it's going to be on these images that I will show you, okay? So we start with you, Jamie, then we move to Lee, then we move to Raquel. Do you already see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so basically each of you will have a slide, and you need to start telling the story based on what you see on that slide, okay? So we can start with Jamie, then we move to Lee, then we move to Raquel, and then we go for a second round, Jamie, Lee, Raquel, and we end with Raquel, okay? So I'll move to the first slide, and you can start, Jamie. Just use your imagination.
All right, here we have what we know as the biggest gravitational force against the Earth, the moon. Without the moon, we would not survive. Our oceans would not have tides, and I think the Earth would not be able to carry on and sustain life the way it does today. So join me in protecting the moon from any human interference.
Very nice. Let's move to Lee. Lee, are you there? If not, we can move to Raquel, and then Lee is the next one.
It's fine. Go ahead, Raquel.
Okay. So the ego is a very problematic piece when we are defending the moon, because she's super powerful and she's going to, okay, and she's going to reach the moon and take it from the orbit. So in order for us to save our universe, the waters and everything else, we need to kill the eagles.
All right, let's kill the eagles. Lee, you can continue.
All right, and here again, I'm looking at the moon from Sutherland because it happens to be the best place in South Africa where you can see the stars in all its glory. And I see, is that a wolf howling at the moon? And it's probably thinking what the rest of us are thinking, that we need to be going there in our lifetime.
All right, Jamie, again to you.
All right, here we have a very beautifully smiling pug. These pugs are endangered, and to save them, you would want to join my initiative that is called Save the Pugs Today. All you have to do is donate $10 to my account, and you'll save one pug a day.
All right, Raquel.
Join in this campaign, lovely campaign to save the pugs today. The pugs, also the puppies, and all the dogs in the world, because we are in love with saving the universe or destroying the eagles, but we are together in this cause.
And to finish, back to Lee.
It's cool.
Maybe you're muted, Lee.
You would think that would have bought me more time to come up with something brilliant. But again, it's back to, you know, what a big world out there. Join us. We're doing something great, and it's probably very big.
Perfect. What a great story we just had right here. Thank you very much for this game, for joining me, playing this. It was a really good story. Jamie, what did you think of this? You are an expert storyteller. Was this good?
Yeah, no, based on the time we had, I think it was brilliant.
I think so as well. All right, so let's go back to the showcases. Lee, you are a presenter. You can share your screen. Let's move to Certin and the showcase of Certin. The stage is yours. You can speak now.
Okay, I will be. Okay, so I'm going to upload my file. All right, while it's opening, I'm Lee Chana, partner at Flipton and part of the founding team that developed Certin, the product we're going to be discussing. I just want to say it's been such a privilege working with the Get Border team over the last few months. I really look forward to the rest of the Alternate Future Summit. And, you know, it's really been a wonderful experience. And, you know, I look forward to doing much more with you in the future. So I'd like to start with just a, you know, I'm going to try and keep it short. I'd like to start with a little bit of context into the digital credentialing world, the market, and then we'll go into some of our demos, so you get to see exactly what our product does and how it's used and how simple it is to be able to issue digital credentials. Marta, is everything okay on your side? Because I may just have to switch off my video for better streaming.
We can see your presentation.
You can see my.
Certin.
All right.
Yes,
okay. All right. All right. Okay. So let's start. Just in terms of context, digital credentialing in education, right? There were about 43 million badges issued in 2020, and the expansion rate has been predicted to around 18.34% just over the next 4 years. What this means is it is a huge market, and as you can see, it's more or less dominated by the US right now. A report from IMS Global showed that about I think 40% of the market is captured by the United States, and the rest is split between Europe and Asia Pacific. Now, why are we looking to solve this particular problem? And and it does seem like there are a lot of people doing it. I think, as we all know, paper certificates have been used by educational institutions for hundreds of years, but the process it's completely outdated for our modern students. And the loss of documentation, cost of replacement, and cost of amending it, changing it if you change your surname, for instance, the inability to share it very easily, they all contribute to a very poor recipient experience. As a result, institutions are quite inspired to switch to digital credentials to attract candidates. Now, the future of digital credentials in education is a vision of instantly viable credentials and CVs, which will definitely save time for both hiring parties and issuing bodies. With digital credentials, the potential for fraud and fabricated educational history drops drastically. This protects the integrity of education providers and the value of awarded certifications. It protects your brand. Another important goal for the future of digital credentials in education is the longevity of career advancing credentials. What this means is if an educational institution closes down, the records and verification processes no longer need to be lost. So there can be safeguards in place with digital credentials. They also, they're hosted online in secure data centers outside of the educational institution, and meaning it has a much longer life for accessibility and verifiability. The use of contextual data and market standardization will help hiring managers in organizations, as well as administrators, to better understand a candidate's ability and current skills. This is particularly important as an increasing number of organizations begin to offer training and education to help fulfill the skills gap demand that we have in place now. We've seen the increase in the number of MOOCs that have come on board just in the last 3 to 4 years. And we know that the effect of COVID, we know that it has also impacted the proliferation of digital courses. And higher education is not always accessible for learners due to high costs and long-term time commitments. So we anticipate a much greater demand for independent training and education providers with micro-credentials, as I've just mentioned, and short-term courses. So using detailed context, which is available in a digital credential, hiring parties can easily distinguish the value of a particular certificate from organization A versus organization B. And our vision for Certtin has always been to value not just the qualification that comes from an educational institution, but to value whatever skills or work attestations you may have. So one place to bring in all of your attributes that make you more marketable and employable. Which brings us back to our product, Certtin. It is a notarization platform where we can issue digital credentials that are instantly verifiable. We use Ethereum smart contracts on a private blockchain. As I've just mentioned, the problems with paper-based credentials. With digital, they're simple to verify, or instantly verifiable, easy to share globally, anywhere actually. It gives control to the issuer by being revocable if required, and you get your instant value as a digital asset. In terms of the credentials, so I've been saying credentials and I've been saying certificates. What's the difference? A credential is a set of claims or attributes about a learner made by an issuer. A verifiable credential then is a tamper-evident credential where the authorship can be cryptographically verified. That means we take your certificate and we put in other information that actually proves the authenticity and the ownership within that certificate. Our value proposition, as I mentioned, the notarization aspect of it, it protects the notarization ownership model protects the credential against document falsification. Each certificate has a unique QR code and an encrypted hash. It facilitates things like learning pathways. As a student progresses through course or program, they're awarded digital badges to represent completion of separate modules. The digital badges provide an incentive for completion, as well as offering third parties a better understanding of what knowledge or experience has been gained along the way. It's also micro-credentials that can be combined to make up larger programs or standalone bite-sized chunks of knowledge. As I mentioned, being able to value any experience, anything that you've gained to help your employability. Let's look at the stakeholders within this blockchain credentialing environment and what is some of the value to the stakeholders. We have independence. The recipients own the credential, does not require the issuer or verifying third party to be involved after that credential is received. There's ownership. The recipient can prove ownership of the credential. There's control. The recipient has control over how they curate the credentials they own. They may choose to associate credentials with, on a social media profile or not. There's verifiability. The credential is verifiable by third parties, like your hiring organizations or admissions department. And there's permanence. So the issuer may prove they issued the credential. It can have an expiry date, and it can be revoked. Also an example of control over that certificate. Okay, at this point, I'd like to quickly go through a little bit of a demo. I've put in screens here of certificates that we've recently designed. As I mentioned, it's very easy as an issuer, as an organization or a startup wanting to issue certificates. It's very easy to join us. You register, create your template, and you issue. You can either create and modify your template yourself using our designer tool, or we can create it for you. This was a custom design for Alt Futures, and you can all have a look at it here. I'm sure there are people in the audience who will be receiving this certificate. Once you've registered and created your template, you can then issue. Issuance, very simple, again, built for convenience. It can be issued on demand, in batches, or by API integration. This is an example of an on-demand issuance where we've just selected a single recipient and we're issuing the certificate to them. In terms of, back to terminology, I mentioned notarization. So the way we've designed the solution, we have a master copy, which is created and owned by the issuer. That's your issuing organization. The issuer then issues an original copy to the recipient. That recipient may then share their share or transfer certificates to third parties, and those are called certified copies. And what we can do is we can trace and limit interactions based on the type of copy you're using. So, that brings us back to the point of control, of visibility, and of tracking your certificate. Once issued, a certificate link, a URL, is generated, and what you see is the view that a recipient or any receiver of that URL will see. It can then be shared on LinkedIn or on other social media platforms, where it can also be accessed from there. It's quite a nice design where there's a lot of features for the recipient themselves to download, print, share, And there's also verification ability for the third-party recipient. With third parties, let's just talk a little bit about how we do our verification. We verify through the hash. At the time of issuance, a hash code is generated using the key attributes of this transaction, and it is encrypted and stored. At the time of verification, we generate the hash again using the same key attributes as they appear within our application. And we use the same encryption algorithm as well. We then compare the hash that was created at the time of issuance with that created at the time of verification. And if they are different, then there's a problem. If they're the same, we can then say that this credential is verified, and part of the key attributes that we verify belong to the issuer, they belong to the recipient, and they belong to the actual certificate itself. But what does the recipient get? Now, the recipient can work very well with that public URL, that certificate link. They can embed it, they can share it, they can download and print and put in paper-based versions into their applications, but they can also use the mobile app. Within the mobile app, the recipient may collect different links or different types of documents, and they can request for them and get them within their blockchain wallet, which is managed through the app. And then they can generate custom CVs with a collection of these verifiable evidence in the form of qualifications or certificates or skills references or work attestations. So in the end, you end up with a verifiable CV. And finally, the value to issuers is the insights. Our previous speaker spoke about insights being measurable and actionable, and how insights plus action give you impact, create impact, and that's what we're aiming to do. How do you know how your certificates are interacting, or your qualifications are interacting with the world? We look at their mobility, we look at where they're being accessed, how they're being accessed, how they're being used, and over time, a story can be told pertaining to this interaction with your certificates, pertaining to validity, to demand, to usefulness, and those insights can tell you where you need to work on your programs, where you need to supplement, which programs go together, and basically the overall demand for your qualifications, for your certificates. And finally, what we're looking for, we want to scale our product. Our mobile app is free for recipients. We have very, very price-sensitive schemes for everybody else, for issuers. We also have a partnership model for key issuers, so revenue share, potentially revenue share on larger organizations, and value-added services for ecosystem partners such as LMSs and other organizations. And finally, our offer to you. We are offering to all challenge sponsors of the Alternative Future Hackathon and to non-profit organizations who may be listening to this presentation, we offer 100% discount on our startup plan for 1 year, and that includes no commitment beyond the year. What it means is that we, if you decide to sign up, use our platform, and you decide, okay, that's it, you're not going to continue, your certificates will still remain valid, your users can still use them, they will be available. We also offer 2 custom templates. We're highly negotiable on that. Obviously, it comes with the Skills wallet and unlimited issuance. That for us is our major VP in terms of what everybody else is doing. Yeah, it's an offer you can't turn down. And so we can do this with a voucher. Just contact us and we can set you up. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the kind words at the beginning about the partnership that we have between GetWorded and Certtin. I'll make your words my own. And now, to finish, we'll move to the last showcase. Okay, so we're moving from micro-credentials to micro-learning, and Raquel is going to present ALEX. It's a product from GetWorded that it's really around micro-learning and also micro-credentials as well. So this is really connected. So Raquel, you can share your screen, and we can move to the last showcase of the day.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Lee. Okay, guys, we are just having one technical organization here. Now it's, yeah, for sure. Great. Okay, guys. So today I'm going to talk about our mascot, Alex. He's a very friendly robot. As Lee was saying, we are very close on this project because we do need the micro certifications that that come from them, and then we use here to the micro learning path. And now we are going to talk about a little bit of personalized microlearning, where we use agile microlearning. The agile word is normally used for like software development and this technology related thinking. But when we put together agile and education, the microlearning comes in hand when we want to enhance productivity, drive success, and ensure retention of important information in companies. So this product is aimed for companies that want to integrate training programs and people development. So, and to create like a lifelong learning environment for teams. So the methodology beside it, it comes on understanding how and why it can drive like value and differentiation when you're a group of workers that are that need like new competencies, or you need to be up to any technology, and we put it in a path where the agile micro competencies are all together in a bite-sized approach to a holistic learning and productivity group. So when we are talking about learning and development, what is the most like up-to-date is the micro-credentials. So once you acquire some knowledge, you can go three ways. The first way is you have I learned something and then I don't have opportunity to practice and perform. So I needed at some point to learn it, like in the university. I practiced during the days that I was like in class, but then I didn't develop or master it because I didn't use it. The second path is when you can train like on a job site or during, I don't know, a project. So then you go like the pace of learning is okay. You go your own pace, you learn something, but you just use it in a job and then you lose it. Maybe you master at some point, but you didn't like really keep up to pace. And then when you put micro learning, that is this agile methodology, you give like micro opportunities to get in contact with the competencies and the knowledge. And once you are in the full amount of like the cycles, you get to master by sharing your knowledge and being actually like able to teach for in an environment or in a group, or in this case in your company. So when we look at our work environment, there are talent gaps, of course. So how are in an HR, in the human resources, how can we develop competencies and investigate what we need to pass to this group. So there are 4 types of drivers of the need analysis. The first one is, does the employee needs this training? The second one is, does this employee want to learn something new or to learn this competency? Does this employee understands the value of it? Can we give access to this information? Do we have a platform? Do we have like a way to put this knowledge on the way we want it to be shared? And the application, will the employee be able to have like practices in these circles, these cycles, to apply and master the knowledge? So when we talk about ALEX, it brings all of this together. We begin by mapping the competencies that we need to develop. Then we need to train, make the analysis to understand this gap and what are the needs, what are the right amount of content. And then we implement the micro-learning and distribution development for this group, encouraging specific periods of amount of time that we need to this group, and challenging like in this path where we can evolve the team. But we currently establish learning methodology by 6 steps. The first one would be the purchase. The second, to provide the access for our team. The third, to promote among our employees. But a question comes out on mind, like, what about the dropout rate? Because the MOOCs, everybody knows that there's a huge, like it's an ocean of dropout because it's very impersonal, or it has a lot of content, or it doesn't have the specific amount of time. So when we buy courses and give to all people, we don't actually reach no one. So the idea is, who needs this knowledge? Who wants this knowledge? So by using ALEX, we do have this type of information. Also, the application, the possibility to apply this knowledge, and of course, the return on investment. So to promote these additional capabilities with micro-learning, we are able to connect, curate, and customize. So these 3 C's are very what is the differentiation of ALEX. So we are able to connect and identify the competencies and preferences of our group to make the best learning resources and formats, and also on the timeline that we need, and to customize the learning experience with short periodic boosts of learning. So making the circles that we showed on the beginning. So HR actually can only identify a small amount of talent needs on a group of a larger group of people. So when we look at this, we think, what happens to the rest 98% of our company that didn't show like necessity or need or interest? So with ALEX, we can provide like screening of the needs or necessities or giving like the amount of data, the urgency, the competency that this group needs. For instance, if I ask, who wants to learn economics and management? We can see that a group already knows it, a group that doesn't know it, and a group that has like a smaller score. When we organize it, we see that, okay, so I do have a group that already knows. I don't need to reach out for this group. But I do have a group that needs this knowledge, doesn't have it yet. Once it shows commitment, I can give access, they can apply on day-to-day. So this is a very good match to return on investment. And the path also comprehends like the mapping, the need analysis, and the micro-learning and distribution of the development among the team, filling up the gaps of knowledge, and also like making the possibility to share knowledge and make a stronger connection to the meaning of the knowledge applied. So on the journey of ALEX, we can see some steps that I'm going to share. that you begin the journey with ALEX, like mailing, just putting out what the screening, the first step is the screening. Then you can personalize. So ALEX is very personalized for any company needs, colors, information. Afterwards, you make a self-assessment and also ask feedback for your peers. On the competency report, then you have what you could map, but also what your partners told you about, like bringing out hidden competencies. Then you can keep a track of the micro-learning with the recommendations, the boosts that ALEX gives. And then you can choose direction to readjust since you are gaining competency, if you want to go one way or another. Solving hurdles, managing career situations, and achieving success in personal and professional terms. So we can see some reasons for not commit to training, such as, I don't have time to learn, or I cannot discipline myself to a learning routine, I don't have a group of a peer group. So these type of things, ALEX is an answer, because it uses the micro-learning in the agile situation management of knowledge, and also distributes development, personalizing the learning content that meets the immediate needs. Thank you so much. Oops, just a second.
I can open my mic now.
Okay.
Thank you, Raquel. I'm just opening my camera again. So this is it. This was the last showcase of today. So we can wrap up the day. Thank you for coming. This was actually a great showcase day because all of the products are connected. ALEX is a product created in partnership with Peopletree, and we are also using Certtin for the certifications of these micro-learning experiences. So great showcase day. We'll meet again tomorrow. Tomorrow, our showcases are going to be around tools of future of work, and we are going to meet at the same place and at the same time with new products and new people. Thank you. Bye-bye.